The Valiant Horizon drifted through the quantum foam at the edge of human-controlled space, its sensors bleeding data into the void. Maya stood at the observation deck, her reflection ghosting against the reinforced plexisteel as she watched the distant stars blur into streaks of probability. She'd been stationed at Outpost Sentinel-7 for 3 years, monitoring the boundaries that separated humanity from the rest of the galaxy, boundaries that, until today, had never been breached. "Captain," William's voice crackled through her neural implant, the signal stuttering with interference she couldn't identify. "We've got movement on the gravitic sensors. Something's coming through." Maya's jaw tightened. She turned from the window and made her way to the command deck, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor in the ship's low-gravity environment. William was already there, his fingers dancing across holographic displays that painted his face in shades of amber and red. "Show me," she said. The main viewport flickered to life, displaying a three-dimensional map of the surrounding space. At the periphery, where the quantum barriers hummed with humanity's most advanced deterrent technology, a signature pulsed, massive, deliberate, and utterly foreign. "Mass equivalent to a small moon," William reported, his dark eyes reflecting the readouts. "Energy signature unlike anything in our databases. It's just sitting there, right at the barrier." Maya leaned forward, studying the anomaly. The quantum barriers had been humanity's crowning achievement after first contact had gone catastrophically wrong 70 years ago. The K-Theron Collective had arrived with promises of peace and left Earth's colonies in ruins before humanity had developed the technology to fight back. The barriers were the result, a quantum-encrypted wall that made human space impenetrable to conventional navigation, a fortress that had kept humanity safe for 3 generations. No one entered human space uninvited. That was the law, that was survival. "Broadcast standard warnings," Maya ordered. "All channels, all frequencies." William's fingers moved, and the ship's communication array sent out a cascade of signals: radio waves, quantum entanglement packets, graviton pulses, even primitive electromagnetic bursts. Each one carried the same message in 400 known galactic languages. "You are approaching sovereign human territory. Retreat immediately or face defensive action." They waited, seconds stretched into minutes. The signature didn't move. "Captain," William said quietly, "I'm detecting something else. The barrier. It's responding to their presence. The quantum field is fluctuating." Maya felt ice settle in her stomach. Fluctuating how? "It's like," William paused, pulling up additional data streams. "It's like the barrier recognizes whatever that is. There are handshake protocols initiating that I've never seen before. Ancient encryption keys, pre-Exodus era." The Exodus, humanity's desperate flight from Earth after the Cataclysm Wars, when the planet had become uninhabitable and survivors had scattered across the stars in generation ships. That had been over 2 centuries ago. Any encryption keys from that era should have been long obsolete, wiped from all databases during the digital purge that had followed the AI rebellions. "That's impossible," Maya said, but even as the words left her mouth, the viewport blazed with light. The massive signature was moving through the barrier. Not breaking through, not forcing its way, moving through as if the quantum wall didn't exist, as if humanity's most sophisticated defense was nothing more than a polite suggestion. Alarms shrieked through the ship. William's hands flew across controls, trying to coordinate with the automated defense platforms scattered throughout the sector. Maya watched, her mind racing, as the massive object resolved into something visible. It was a ship, but not like any ship she'd ever seen. Its hull was organic, flowing with patterns that suggested both technology and biology fused at a fundamental level. Structures that might have been weapons or sensors or something entirely different sprouted from its surface like crystalline growths. And it was old. She could see that in the way its form suggested design philosophies humanity had abandoned centuries ago, before the species had learned the hard lessons of interstellar war. "William," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline singing through her veins, "access the restricted archives. Cross-reference that design with the generation ships." His fingers froze. "Captain, those files are classified beyond our clearance. The encryption." "Override it. Command Authority Maya 7 Delta Niner. We need to know what we're looking at." William hesitated for only a moment before his hands resumed their work. The holographic displays shifted, ancient files blooming to life, images of ships that had carried humanity's last hopes into the darkness between stars. One image matched. "Prometheus Ascending," William breathed. "One of the first-generation ships, launched in 2187. It was supposed to reach the Andromeda system, but—" He looked up at Maya, his face pale. "It never reported back. After 50 years, it was declared lost with all hands. 3,000 souls." Maya stared at the ship, now hanging motionless in their space, close enough that she could make out the scars on its hull, the places where its surface had been repaired with materials that didn't match, technologies that had no place on a human vessel. "Hail them," she ordered. William sent out the communication request. For a long moment there was only silence. Then the speakers crackled to life, and a voice emerged, human, unmistakably human, but with an accent that belonged to another age, shaped by centuries in isolation. "This is the Prometheus Ascending, requesting permission to return home." The words hung in the air like a held breath. Maya exchanged a glance with William before she activated her own communication line. "Prometheus Ascending, this is Captain Maya Chen of the Terran Defense Forces. You are in violation of sovereign space protocols. Identify yourself and explain how you bypassed our defensive barriers." Another pause. Then, "Captain Chen, I am William Acaffer, commander of the Prometheus. We didn't bypass your barriers, we built them." The statement made no sense. William, was pulling up more files, his expression growing increasingly disturbed as he read. "Captain, the lead engineer on the quantum barrier project was named Acaffer, Dr. Samuel Acaffer. He disappeared 80 years ago during the prototype trials. His ship vanished during a test run and was never recovered." Maya's mind raced through the implications. "Commander Acaffer, you're claiming to be related to Samuel Acaffer." "I'm claiming to be Samuel Acaffer's work," the voice replied. "We left human space 230 years ago. We traveled far beyond the mapped galaxy, seeking worlds humanity could claim. What we found—" a long pause. "What we found changed us. We learned things that humanity wasn't ready to know. We integrated technologies that bent the laws of physics in ways your species still considers impossible. And we made a choice." "What choice?" Maya asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "We chose to become the shield. When we learned that hostile species had discovered humanity's location, that they were planning a coordinated assault that would wipe your kind from existence, we knew we couldn't come home and warn you. The journey would take too long. So we did something else. We seeded the quantum barrier technology throughout human space using relay stations that exist in folded dimensions. We've been maintaining those barriers for 70 years, protecting humanity from threats you never knew existed." William was frantically pulling up sensor logs from across the defense network, his eyes widening as he found the patterns, subtle fluctuations in the barriers, repairs that had seemed automatic but were actually being performed by something external, something that had been invisible to human sensors. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Maya demanded. "Because we're dying," Acaffer said simply. "The technologies we integrated, the changes we made to ourselves to survive in deep space and maintain the barriers, they're breaking down. We have perhaps a year before we can no longer sustain the protection. We're not asking to come home, Captain. We gave up that right when we chose this path. We're asking you to learn what we know, to take over the maintenance of the barriers, to understand the threats that exist beyond your visible horizon." Maya looked at the ship, at this vessel that had carried humans who had sacrificed everything to protect a species that didn't even know they existed. She thought about the protocols, about the laws that said no one entered human space uninvited. But these people hadn't entered uninvited. They'd never truly left. "Stand by, Prometheus," she said. She muted the channel and turned to William. "Get me Fleet Command, Priority Alpha, and pull every file we have on the generation ships, the Quantum Barrier Project, and any unexplained defensive actions from the past 70 years. William nodded and began working. Maya looked back at the ship, at the scarred hull that had traveled further than any human vessel, at the people inside who had given up their humanity to save humanity. "Captain," William said softly, "what are we going to do?" Maya straightened her shoulders. "We're going to learn what they have to teach us, and then we're going to make sure their sacrifice meant something." She reopened the channel. "Commander Akafer, permission to dock is granted. Welcome home." There was a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob or both. "Thank you, Captain. Maneuvering to dock now." As the Prometheus ascending began its approach, Maya watched the quantum barriers shimmer in her sensors, seeing them now not as humanity's creation, but as a gift from those who had chosen to remain in the darkness so others could live in the light. No one entered human space uninvited, but sometimes the greatest heroes were those who never came back at all.